All right, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Abby Bulus, and I'm the project coordinator for the Winnie Hegemony series. It's quite exciting to have the opportunity to celebrate women in a special way. I believe that when women come together for a singular purpose, the world must move. So I'm really excited for what is going to come out of this conversation today and the impact that it will have in Nigeria. So by way of introduction, the Winnie Hegemony series is an organization that facilitates deep conversations around gender empowerment. We focus on four main themes. Research is one of our main efforts, nation building, transformative thinking, gender inclusivity, and equity. So everything that we do is associated to leading a charge that increases the number of women that we see in leadership positions in politics, in government, and in different industries within Africa. We have a philosophy that says the more women you see in leadership positions, the more economic growth you'll see in those areas. So we've been able to push our agenda through conferences and more recently through research. In 2014, the Winnie Hegemony series established the postgraduate research grant at Oxford. And then we also initiated a project on female representation within the state and local government levels. And we are looking at, or the research project looks at the number of women that you see from 1999 all the way up to 2015. So the process of the research, it was long, it was rigorous, but we had an incredible team put together from the onset. And today I have one of those people with us. He is someone who sort of helped us understand or helped us tease out what exactly we wanted to glean from the research and just sort of understand what sort of data we need to bring about the change that we're looking for. So he was able to kind of help us put those things together. And he's someone who has sort of made his mark in his field and definitely has done so with passion and eloquence. So I have with us today Mr. Ojo with the National Bureau of Statistics. So I'm just going to give you a chance to introduce yourself, fill in the blanks for us as far as what you do for NBS and your involvement in the research project with the Winnie Hegemony series.
Okay. Thank you, Abby. My name is Emwesiri Ojo. I work with the National Bureau of Statistics. I'm a technical advisor to the Statistician General at the Bureau. Part of my work at the Bureau is mainly coordination. So it's mainly focused on coordinating the statistical system in Nigeria. So I assist him in that effort. Like you know, Nigeria is a federation, so every state in Nigeria has its own statistical agency. So, but for us to produce data in a harmonized way, there needs to be some sort of coordination of efforts within that system. So that is the main thing that I do there. I also manage quite a few statistical surveys at the Bureau in collaboration with other colleagues. So those are the main things that I do at the National Bureau of Statistics. My role with the research project was mainly to was mainly focused on the data collection aspect of. So I'm trying to design, trying to figure out what sort of data we needed for the exercise, and also designing some sort of designing the way we intended to go about collecting the data. I think it was a very, very interesting interesting exercise for me. It actually further opened my eyes to the sort of work that the Winnie Hegemony series is doing, and also I learned one or two things that also changed in terms of. So it was a very, very interesting exercise.
Okay, great, great, great. That's awesome. So I think one of the most important things for the Winning Longevity series when we set out to complete this exercise was to make sure that the process is credible. We wanted to make sure that there were no gaps or loopholes in the way we collected our data, just to make sure that we have the most accurate information as far as the number of women that we see at the state and local level. So can you just explain to us the process of data collection and how you as an organization tried to make sure that your process was transparent and that it was credible?
Okay. Typically, using two different methods, data through surveys. That's where we take samples of maybe households or establishments, and then we administer questionnaires and we collect information from them. Or the other way is we collect data administratively, which means in the course of maybe government agencies, private establishments doing their work, there's some sort of information that they collect that that they document in their day-to-day routine. So we can collect information by that way as well. So when we started this project, when this research project came up, the first thing we tried to do was to identify the sort of information that we needed, the sort of data that we needed. And once we had done that, we had done that at the national level, at the state level, and at the local government level. Once we had identified all those, the sort of data that we needed, the next thing for us was to identify the data sources, the best data sources. So it was quite challenging because in this part of the world, especially, documentation is a very, it's not very, it's not at its best, I should say, particularly at the state and at the local government levels, they don't really document things as well as they should. And even when data is documented, information is documented, access to that information is also another issue. So yeah, so for us, we had to look at each individual indicator, each individual information we needed, and identify the best and most practical data source that we believed would get us what we needed. So in terms of credibility and accuracy, at the National Bureau of Statistics, our processes are very meticulous. We have different layers of quality assurance. We don't just send enumerators to the field to collect information. They have supervisors, they have monitors. We also have those who who go out unannounced. So we have all these layers of supervision just to make sure that the information that comes out is actually credible and accurate. So, and that same process was employed when we collected the information for this research project. We had monitors that went to 12 states to make sure, those states were randomly selected. The field workers did not know that that monitors were coming out to check them. And also we had some independent monitors from within the organization itself also that came out, that went to a few states to also see what we were doing. So in terms of credibility and accuracy of the data, we can assure that the data is as accurate as you get it. There's some cases where we couldn't get the information. Instead of making anything up, we just left it blank. It's better to report no data than report something that you can't vouch for. So in terms of credibility and accuracy, I think that was very high up the list.
Yeah, I think as you were talking about the process being very meticulous. When we were looking at the document after putting it all together, I think definitely reading it, you could definitely tell that there was some pretty intense work that was going on there. So yeah, that definitely speaks to the project being thoroughly done. And for those who are watching, if you want to read the project, there will be a link in the video below. That way you can actually scroll through the entire project and see what the data looked like. I think we also had a spot audit done by a group from Oxford University, and they were able to sort of look at it and say, okay, we also did our spot check, and it was spot on. So they definitely got a feel for how authenticated or authentic rather the process of data collection was. So I think for us, personally, when I looked at the data, I was, really excited to kind of go through, look at the different states, and sort of look at the graphs and how the number of women who have been represented, both at the state and local levels, how that number or what the trend looks like. So you see the times in which there were a lot of women in office, and when there's fewer women, but there's definitely been steady progression that we've seen, which is exciting when you look at the number of women in those positions. So if you had to, or I guess from the information that you got and the kind of report you put together, what would you say would be most insightful or interesting about the study altogether?
I think for me, when I looked at the data, for me, what was interesting was basically looking at the trend to see how the number of the women participation in government had changed from 1999 up until the present political dispensation, or the present administration, I should say rather. So for me, that was quite interesting. You could see that in between 1999 and 2003, you didn't have a lot. There were some states where you didn't even have any female representation at all. But as time progressed, you could see some states beginning to, go up the, get more women involved in those positions. But something else that also sparked some sort of interest was this present dispensation. In the last one, between 1990, was it now 2011 and 2000, there was quite a few. I think that was the dispensation that had the highest number of female representation, and that sort of dropped during this this current administration, or this current dispensation. So just looking at the trend, I think what would be probably more interesting is to understand why those changes have happened. I think that would probably be that's something that you might want to look into as your next project, to understand what would have caused those changes. Yeah, for the change was
Great. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that we're actually going to go into a little bit later on in the interview. The next question. We have seen some progression in the, like you said, but how do you think that information? How do you think that it would be or could be relevant in influencing policy change? or influencing policy, just to begin with in Nigeria. I guess with the way that it currently is set up and the way it works, do you think this research is valuable to, or would be helpful in influencing policy when it comes to the access that women have to these leadership positions?
Yeah. I think for me, I think the data is very, very, very important. If you want to change policy wherever you are, whether in Nigeria or in the Western world, wherever it is, you must first of all understand where you are. And for you to understand where you are, you need information, you need data. You need the data to tell you, okay, this is where we are, this is the percentage of women involved in public service or in public service leadership or in business or whatever, then it's only then you can start formulating policies or designing policies or pressuring, the people at the top to get more women involved in those positions. So the data, I think, is very, very, very critical. It's very, very important. You must have, you cannot make a case for change if you don't have the right information. You need the right information to use, to make whatever case you want to make for any change that you seek. So the information is critical. It's not something that is just as important as the advocacy that you do. You cannot advocate just quoting figures that you haven't verified. You need solid, verifiable information. So the data is very critical. And I think for me, from my experience working in public service, is you can't change, you wouldn't change anyone's mind. You can't go to, for example, you can't go to a governor of a state and say, look, you need more women involved in your cabinet, or you need more women involved in leadership positions. You should be able to show him that, look, out of 100 people in this position, you only have 2 women here. He has to be able to see it. Once he sees that information, then he has no other defense. But if you go without information, it's like you're not going with any ammunition. So the data is your ammunition. That's the weapon you have to sort of fight your cause. So in terms of changing policy, it's very, very critical. You cannot shy away from it. It's not something that you can. It's just as important as you making your case. The data is very, very critical to any endeavor, such as the one you're involved in.
I think that also touches on the next question, and the next question was really just, is this sort of research something that has value, if it's or will have value if it's replicated in other countries around Africa? So I think you sort of touched on it, but are there other ways in which this data being relevant, or this sort of data is relevant in other African nations? Is it something or a project that this series would be one that would create value for the citizens in whatever country decides to work in?
Yeah, I think it's I think definitely has value. Other African countries can certainly benefit from this sort of research if, for those that haven't done it. If you think about countries where, women have participation in government or in, public sections or in business, I'm sure you would find that at some point in their life, they did this sort of research, they conducted this sort of research, they've compiled this sort of information and kept it, and they've used that to advocate. for the for the change that they're seeing in their in their countries. So definitely African countries will definitely benefit from this. But I would not stop at just collecting information on the number on women female participation in those in leadership positions or that. I think it's good to actually go further to find out the reasons why. Are there any cultural reasons why? Are there any religious reasons why women are not participating? Why, I mean, we need to find out. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of women that would like to. So let's find out what is stopping them from actually, from actually joining politics, from actually, making a goal for, aspiring to get into positions like that. I mean, it will be interesting to find out those things and then also compare within, within regions, within countries, and say, okay, in Nigeria, this is, this might be the case. In Ghana, this might be the case, and then you can then share experiences, between each other, and then see where you can learn. Maybe Nigeria might be able to learn one or two things from Ghana or whatever other country it might be. I mean, we're trying to solve what is a problem. The idea is that one country might have done something in a better way than we're actually thinking about, than the solution we're thinking about. So it's easy to actually learn from them than to go and reinvent, something else that might not have the same impact. So I think that as long as the goal is to increase women participation, because I mean, the benefits of doing that is no longer an argument about, oh, should women be involved. We know that when women are involved, when women are, when women issues are taken along, we see that, we have better outcomes. So I don't think that's no longer the argument or the focus of the discussion. Now let's move the discourse to, okay, how do we get them more involved? What is stopping them? What are the issues that we can solve? And you cannot address those issues without the involvement of women. You need to understand what makes them tick. You need to understand how, I don't know, whatever it is. We just need their own input. You cannot solve the problem of somebody if that person is not involved in the solution. So definitely other African countries will benefit. And I think you will probably see in future, we'll probably see a time where, we have this sort of ranking being done, not just for the public sector, but also for the private sector, and done annually across all African countries, so that, then you can also generate some sort of healthy competition within countries to see that, okay, I mean, Nigeria might be on top maybe this year, and then to find them. I mean, it would then push leaders to introduce policies that say, okay, maybe half of or maybe 30% of my cabinet will be women, or give quotas. I mean, I don't know what the solution would be. But it's a starting point, and I think it will benefit others to do the same, especially for those that haven't done it already.
I do like the idea of healthy competition. So just doing things that will sort of urge people or create a desire to do more for a positive cause. And it's also exciting to kind of hear that you said that the issue at hand is not whether we can add value, but what we can do to make sure that we're being brought along into certain conversations. And I think that in and of itself is a step in the right direction, where it's no longer a question as to whether we have value to add, but yes, we have value. What do we do? the next question was just going to be around what next steps should be for the Winnie Hindemith series, now that we've got this data, and you sort of into this when you spoke about not just having the information and holding it, but going forward, people who are positioned to influence policy and say these are the numbers, what are we going to do about it? And then also going a step further to say, okay, from this information that we've been able to glean, why do we see the trends that we're seeing? Why do we see the peaks? And then a step further is getting that same information and then when you go to check, what influences the numbers, be it culture or religion, what can we learn from other people, and what can we implement in our countries to increase the numbers? But I guess getting to a place where there is healthy competition among countries, saying, oh, this, who did it well, or who did best. This year, and what can we do so that our numbers come on top in the next round? I think is definitely getting to a place of healthy competition and excitement. Is there anything else you would say that we could add to our next steps with the research?
Yeah, what I would like to see would be some sort of research that looks into, that identifies, women that have made their mark, in leadership positions in the public sector and in the private sector, and just try to find out their experiences, and find out the sort of issues that they faced when they were coming up, just to understand what issues they faced and how they dealt with those issues at the time. And then also, to also look at, younger women coming up and ask them the sort of issues that they face right now, and, their sort of the aspirations they have, and the sort of issues they face, and see and look at that vis-a-vis, the experiences of those that have done it before, that have, made their mark, and just try to see where you can. I think that would help in you formulating in directing your advocacy to the right, in the right direction, because sometimes when it's, I mean, if you think about it, you can't. There's so much you can do if you just drumming the same message on on your audience. You have to understand what you have to give me. If I was a governor, for example, and you wanted to change my mind or get me to move in a certain direction, you have to make me. You have to understand my side, and you have to give me some sort of, show me the way how to go about it, and show me that if I go this way, I'll be making this impact. I'll be making this so much impact here. So, also, I would like to see some further research in understanding, why certain things, why women are not, and also let's look at the. Probably we could look at the regions within Nigeria, for example, and to see if there are any particular regions that have constantly lag behind, and see what's, just see why is there something that's going on there that we can address. I mean, the solution for that area might not be the solution for another region, so is to understand why certain things are the way they are. And it's possible that maybe the young girls in that region are not, they don't aspire to be in government. That might not be their aspiration. So you know, let's not just focus the advocacy on one side, like, okay, let's drum into the heads of the government that look involved. Maybe it might be that the young girls are not don't actually want to, or the younger or the middle-aged women who should be in politics or whatever don't actually have that interest. So let's understand, let's understand more why the data is that way. And I think in doing that, if you understand better the cause of or the reasons why certain things are the way they are, then it's easier for you to design and implement policies or interventions that actually tackle that problem.
Exactly.
In the past, in Nigeria and indeed Africa, we've always just we've not really paid attention to data, to the real cause of problems. We just design. You can hear a governor or a president will maybe join his campaign, will say, "Oh, I'll create 1 million jobs, or I'll do this, I'll do that." But what if 1 million jobs is not what we need? What if we only need 100,000 jobs? What if we actually need 20 million jobs? So you need to pay attention to what the real cause of the problem is. You don't just pluck out solutions because you feel they sound nice, or you think they are, or you've heard someone say it somewhere else. Understand the cause of the problems in your area, what is peculiar to your environment, and then design policies that actually tackle problems in your environment. Don't just pluck out solutions from thin air that are not of problems in your area. So further research to understand the real cause of these problems. Yeah, the real cause of these problems. It might be an aspirational problem. I don't know. I mean, it might be that, yeah, maybe it might be, I don't know, whatever it is. I don't want to guess or second guess anything. I don't know, but let's understand what the problems are, and then design real policies that tackle those problems, and then we can now start, then we will see what the actual problems are, is what I think is needed. And like I said, data is critical. You cannot put data on one side and just guess anything. It has to be based on actual data. It has to be based on data. Don't make the mistake of doing what other people have done before and failed. Use actual data, and then you find out that you're making actual, you get more results by doing that.
That is an excellent point. I think that is just speaks to the need for us to be very intentional about our efforts, and expend less energy doing or sort of implementing certain things if you know exactly what you're going for. Once you establish a target, then you can actually I think that is very, very, very important when it comes to this sort of efforts. And I really do like what you said about finding out per area what is the issue. In one area it might be culture, and another it might be religion, and then another area it might have nothing to do with that actually at all. But yeah, I think I think going to the grassroots level would really help us to grasp and understand what the issue is, and find out if people even want to be in government and politics, if that has anything to do with what's going on. But yeah, definitely, this has been a very insightful conversation, and I think that we have definitely sort of peeled back or introduced many different things that we as an organization would definitely look for, or as we make plans for future endeavors along the lines of the research, and just as an organization generally speaking. So we definitely appreciate your time today. It's been great to sort of catch up after the research that was done, and since the publishing of the document. And it is our desire that the project does not end here. Like you pointed out, our hands full and a lot of work that needs to go into it as far as next steps are concerned. And it is our hope that this research will definitely influence more conscious policies eventually, but even just inspiring others to take up interest in the issue of female representation, and making things move, whether this representation happens to be in politics or in government, or as you mentioned, in different businesses. So I think for the listeners, whether research is your thing or not, I think you definitely can help in some way to numbers, which is definitely our because we definitely believe that the more people you see coming together to talk about specific issues for a singular purpose, the more the world has no choice but to move. So I think it definitely power in numbers going to a specific issue. So thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to catching up and sort of seeing where we are after we've sort of gone through our next steps. And for the listeners, if you look in the caption box below, you'll see the research project. As I mentioned, the entire report is there, and you'll also see the different social media platforms on which you can keep connected, including our website. So thank you so much.
Thank you.